Coming to you live from the One More and I'm Out of Here / Illegal Shift Studios. Here we are. We are back. We did our last one Sunday. So here we are Tuesday. We've got a lot to cover, Andrew.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That's what she said. So we've got all kinds of. Hold on, let me fix this.
That's really out of focus. Why do I look so?
Well, it's because you're going to make fun of my internet, apparently.
Are we on the Soviet system?
We were good. I just did an internet test right before,
and then what happened?
Everything was good.
And now?
And then you showed up, and it got all fucked up.
Big old plate in your head.
Anyway, we are here, and
here we be.
Let's start. What's
God, the world is just going by so quick.
What's happened with you since Sunday?
Since Sunday. What's happened to me since Sunday?
I mean, you're retired. You don't do shit. So
I walked the township.
You walked?
I walked the township for 2 days. I walked from Beachmont and 5 Mile to Markley and Bennett. And it was a joy. And it was hot these last 2 days, which we're going to talk about the heat. Because I don't know how you escape from the heat.
I know exactly how I do.
You know what's anyway, so I walked, and I actually when I walked, I said to myself,
why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this? But then I said, you know what? There is some noble goodness in walking like, people used to do. So as a trustee, we put in lots of sidewalks, and they still are putting sidewalks in everywhere. And, they're great. I think they're great for children. Anybody that can't drive a vehicle.
That's right.
But I mean, as I was going down, I was at, if anyone knows the area, Markley down past, as you're getting close to Bennett coming up the hill, it gets sketchy down there. I mean, I'm walking between the white line and the guardrail, and there's really nowhere else to go other than a patch of poisoned sumac, which I really didn't want to jump into. So, I mean, anyway, I had some fun times walking through the township. I was able though today to about 100 reps, and
it's nice to have that affordability.
It's nice. If you knew my pool, it's kind of an inside joke there, but who didn't get to go to the pool today? I mean, let's start off with where we left. Well, we started last time. I mean, I wonder if Abby's handling the heat well today.
Dear Abby,
I still don't have my pool. So, hey, listen, Abby, just for you and than swimming in that pot that you boil things in, the big cauldron, as you call it. I am going to tell you that at Big Lots, pool prices range from $299.99 for a 14-foot by 42-foot. That's a big pool. That's a big size pool. But you can get a budget one for $79.95, 20% less than elsewhere. A 10-foot by 30-inch blue quick-set inflatable ring above ground pool.
Guess what?
I'm doing a service here.
Always awesome to have options.
You know what? I just hope Abby I hope that she has the ability to inflate the pool and then fill up the pool so that, she has some relief, because I know where she's not. Do you know where she's not?
The swim club that I belong to.
Yeah. And that's the Forest Hills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's no longer there.
No longer there.
Sorry.
They opted to.
Sorry. And it's 2 of the hottest days of the year. So
it was hotter than Satan's taint today.
Yes. There were, and I showered, and then I walked to Tire Discounters, and I wondered about, 2 blocks away why I showered, because I was like, this is pointless. But hey, it's August in Ohio, and we're dealing with it, and it's hot everywhere from what I understand. So you know what? It's summertime, so get used to it.
Right.
Summertime in the big city. So that's all I've been up to since Sunday.
All right. Well, I mean,
the car fixed. Got the car, the guys, not to give a plug, but I always have good luck. Those guys take care of me, so I'm always been going there, and that's about all I got. And it is, what? Let me say something else. I'll finish this thought as I have it, because if not, it'll be gone.
Yeah,
a lot of people
be gone.
Yeah, it'll be gone. A lot of people, and maybe they comment to you, oh, Beachmont has just chicken places and tire stores. I mean, have you heard that one before?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's really convenient. The fact that I could walk to the tire place and then get my car fixed. And that was actually quite convenient. And I was thinking that as I was walking. Actually, I was thinking I'm about to die. But after that thought passed me and my life flashed, I was thinking, you know, it is really nice to have that convenience. I didn't have to rely on somebody else. I didn't have to bother anybody. I just dropped my car off and walked home. I mean, you couldn't do that in a lot of cities.
Right.
And that was kind of cool.
The fact that you actually walked.
It was, I mean, look, before my knees, walking was a thought.
I'm throwing shade only because recourse today
And
in hotter and Satan's taint weather.
what time did you tee off?
11:40.
Just in the meat of the day.
Just in the shithole of it.
Jeez, not bright.
I'm glad I did it because I needed the steps. But wow, man, it was
it
was steamy.
It was sticky.
It was steamy.
It was sticky. So anyway, I got back in the pool. I did 100 laps when I was done with that, and here we are. And we had a lot of things happen today.
Ton of shit.
Where you want to head off at?
Let's start with a thumbnail. Let's start with a thumbnail that our buddy John Bates, difficult to look at pictures, made for us. But I found this amusing because we have, as one more and I'm out of here, and you're new to the show.
Newish.
We have been in Facebook jail and YouTube jail multiple times because of things that they did not like, right? So the fact that Mark Zuckerberg called Trump twice to apologize about the photo, and I'm trying to find, there it is, that got labeled as misinformation when anybody ever posted it.
Yeah.
Right. So
you mean this photo right here?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You are ironically wearing that same shirt.
It's kismet.
Happened on live TV.
Yeah.
And yet when somebody posted or he posted or whoever posted, Mr. Zuckerberg called him twice, and I had it pulled up and then I moved it. So President Trump said in quotes, so Mark Zuckerberg called me. First of all, he called me 2 times. He called things with Maria interview that aired Thursday. It was really brave, and he actually announced that he's not going to support a Democrat because he can't, because he respected me for what I did that day. I think what I did, I like the fact that he owned his shit, because when we get, and he may not have owned it all the way, but like when we get hit, in a podcast, if you copyright infringe, or if you say something that Facebook Meta thinks is misinformation, you have to go through an appeal process.
To whom?
To Meta.
Well, yeah, but that's my whole point.
Right.
Meta is pretty much, I'm fairly convinced it's a AI operated, machine that doesn't have people behind it, because as being somebody that was, as we discussed on the other show, you cannot, if you have a problem with Meta, you don't have any recourse. I mean, like you said, you reply by email, the phone numbers that were non-existent, and it's kind of tough to deal with something like that gets labeled by either a machine or somebody that's spent way too much time in their parents' basement by themselves eating ding dongs or whatever they do. I mean, they deem that something is misinformation. So off you go. I posted something the other day, and they said, well, it's partially factually inaccurate. So they put a little sticker on it or whatever they call it. And it was like one sentence in there that was about the Trump's accomplishments or things that he's done throughout his life. And they said, oh, well, that's never been proven, or, whatever. And I'm like, so I listed 20 things. You pick out one, so you label the whole picture, just like Trump's picture, misinformation. This little misinformation thing, is this the same company, Meta, that would suppress and label all the stories about Hunter Biden's laptop as misinformation? Is that the one?
Factual.
Yeah. I mean, so, now coming back later, now it's a little, I appreciate the fact that Zuckerberg said that and took the effort, like you said, and kind of tried to own up to it. But if he really would own up to it, he'd probably make some some clear and necessary overhaul to his company and how they do business. But since I don't know about you, but have you ever bought anything on the Facebook ads? Have you ever purchased anything?
Actually, I have.
Okay, did it come as advertised?
No.
Okay. It did mine. I mean, they showed this RC tank that you could stand on and ride around. I was like, that is so cool. I was like, I got to get this. It was smaller than this. It was like tiny. I got this little bitty plastic. So on ads, and they, we are their product. Our information is their product. And, it's funny that we complain about it while we're on it.
Right.
But it's just showing when what we're bemoaning is the fact that, we have an election coming up, and a lot of people get their information from social media. And if they can influence the election, that's not a good thing through labeling things misinformation. So I got a problem with that. And if he was sincere, he'd make some big time revisions to his company, and they could be, I don't have a problem with Meta being independent and, just either no politics or whatever, but it's not like that. They just like the media, they put their thumb on the scale, and they skew stories and search engines did, like we discussed with Google the other day. And, when you call them out, they fix it, right? Oh, we're sorry. We fixed it.
We've got it all figured out now.
Right. But how many things aren't fixed that you may not know about? Like how many stories and how many things and how many posts that people put that they suppress because it's stuff they don't want out there that you wouldn't know about. And, they're not going to fix it just because they're great. They're suddenly benevolent. They're not going to fix it till they get called out on it. That's my problem.
And that's where, and when I brought in where this podcast, on Facebook, we've got put in jail, and then YouTube appeal process is a little bit better in the fact that you have recourse to be able to type in something. Like, I don't understand why this got blocked, or why this got, copyright infringed or whatever. But as soon as you call them out on it,
oh Jesus,
guess what? It's right back.
Got to mention this when we discuss the vice presidential choice. That's how he's trending on.
Oh my God,
that's how he's trending on X today.
So let's roll it. Let's roll into that. So obviously, Kamala's got a running mate.
That was
now
announced today. Kamala, who hasn't been voted on by one of the voters in the United States, is picked her vice presidential candidate in a very odd and historical primary that never. Just saying.
So I just pulled this article real quick. It's not even an article, just to go into the fact that now we have a Democratic vice president running mate who can't even manage his own state.
Look, I've got
let alone manage the country.
I've got a lot to say.
I know you do, and I love it.
I've got a lot to say today, and I think we have a lot to say today. It's not just me by any stretch. We were just pointing out. So we discussed on Sunday, and I went on the record and I said I was going to be, because that was the smart choice. And let me get this out of the way first.
I think everybody thought that too. It was going to be.
Well, it made the most sense. And I, as a Republican, in case people didn't know, I'm a conservative. Well, I'm probably a small L libertarian Republican, but because the libertarians are kind of weird. Anyway. I'm ecstatic. When I heard this news today, I was like, you gotta be kidding.
As soon as I saw it, I knew you would be.
Well, I mean, I was like, she can't be this dumb. And once again, Kamala the Great has surpassed even my low expectations of her cranial capacity. And she worst candidate that she there's no attempt by her or her people running her campaign, because it may not be her, to try to disguise the fact. I thought they were going to be tempered. I thought I was afraid when I said Shapiro. I said it, but I was lamenting the fact. I was like, look, she can't pick him, And she couldn't pick him because of, and the reason she didn't pick him is because of the radical wing of her party, the pro-Palestinian, Israeli-hating wing of the Democrat Party, the anti-Semitic wing of that party, would not allow her, even though she is married to a guy of the Jewish faith, right? Her husband is Jewish. That doesn't matter. That's okay. We'll take that. But by God, your vice president is not going to be Jewish. And they would not support that. And she owes them her existence. And, you know, when you please Bernie Sanders with your pick, she listened to AOC, she listened to the squad, and she listened to Bernie Sanders. And, you know, when you see people saying, and we're going to have so much fun with this over the next several weeks and months, couple of months, so much fun. I mean, just on day one, there's so much information coming out about this guy Walls that, you know, look, when I heard the news and they said he picked, and tell me if you agree or disagree, and, you know, I hope people chime in. He goes, oh, because he's from the Midwest. I'm like, he's from the Midwest. He's from Minnesota. Minnesota's not the Midwest. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Right.
It's like Minnesota's Midwest is with Wisconsin, and then you get to Minnesota and you're like, where the hell am I? You know, I mean, what the fuck, where am I going? And
we need our buddy Will Cray in the chats, and he's probably busy working,
because, you know, whatever. But I mean, here's the deal.
Because he's a good, upstanding individual.
Here's the deal. Minnesota has a population in 2020 of about 5.5 million people. It's not a big state. Okay. So it's not like Minnesota is going to pull Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio and all these Midwest states, quote unquote, Midwest states along with it. That's just not happening. And I think I think him being the radical leftist that he is, need I remind you that this guy, okay, under his tenure as governor, every conceivable matrix of ranking his state has gone down under his tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I just pulled up an article today, just one that breaks just as we're speaking. A bunch of soldiers are coming out questioning if they say that he had some deception regarding his military career. I mean, because the first thing they said on the line was he's a veteran. Oh, I respect that. He's a veteran, but military people, not me, but apparently there's some, you know, confusion, or at least points of contention regarding his military career from military people that are questioning it, and we'll post this online.
And which when you're judged by your peers,
that's pretty telling.
It's very telling.
So, you know, and crime has gone up under his tenure. Education, the worst riots we've ever seen in this country ever were under his tenure. He did nothing. And might I add, his wonderful daughter, Hope.
See, we knew exactly where we were going.
So Hope, let me remind everybody that during the riots, when the National Guard was called in and then would be deployed to different parts of Minneapolis to quell the violence, Hope would go on Twitter and alert rioters where the National Guard was going to be stationed so they could avoid those areas and go burn somewhere else. And she got that information from Daddy's office.
Weird.
That's weird.
I would have never guessed where she got that information.
Did I send you the and then his wife during the riots, his wife went on the I posted about this. His wife has an interview and she's with the interviewer and she says, you know what? I keep my windows open because I can smell the tires burning. I mean, who doesn't do that? You know, I mean, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Right. I mean, who's like, hey, honey, there's a fire down the street. Why don't you open those windows up? Let's air this house out. I mean, these are weird people. And I'm just saying they went as far left as they can. And I was going to be concerned.
David J said peaceful protest, Pappas, not riots.
Peace. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mostly peaceful, except for the cars burning. And you remember the video of them just looting the crap out of like Target? They would just go in and just clean a Target out, which is funny because that's their home base, Target, Minneapolis. But, you know, they would clean a Target out and they showed these people. Don't get me wrong. The Floyd riots I'm not going to get into, the causes and blah, 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 blah. But if you're going to justify rioting, I'm sorry. We're going to disagree.
Yeah. And there's a very definitive line between peaceful protest and riots.
Well, that's just another example of your liberal media trying to, they're mostly peaceful except for the building burning directly behind me. That part's not so peaceful, Bill. Back for more at 11. I just don't understand it.
Here we go. Well, ding, ding. Ding, ding. Cincy 513.
Hey, 513. He's full of hate.
Riots are bad unless they're at the Capitol building and supported by your side.
Oh, yeah. I was waiting for that stupid comment. Riots are bad. Hey, buddy, get your facts straight, okay? 513.
It didn't take long.
Did they remember? There was a liberal here in town. 513 probably knows her. So there was a liberal here in Anderson, Erica Chiswick. So, remember old Erica?
Mm-hmm.
She was a big force in the Democrat Party here, very large, and she had left messages around Anderson Township because I posted before the night before that rally. I was like, road trip with a question mark, like maybe I wanted to go, right? Maybe because I was actually intrigued. I was thinking about driving to DC,
just like you want to go the DNC.
Well, but I ended up not going. But she left messages and said the Capitol is burning. It's burning. They can see the flames of the Capitol burning. Was the Capitol burning?
It sure was not.
So compare Minneapolis. Do you have any of the pictures I sent you today from the riots in Minneapolis? Should we flash those on the screen and try to compare and contrast?
I don't know if I have them.
Well, I mean, you just do. I mean, it's a quick Google search. But anyway, folks, just go online and find, Minneapolis riots and just see the first couple of pictures that pop up on your screen. And, you might want to get the marshmallows ready. So 513.
I think
go ahead.
I think you texted it to me.
Is that not good?
No, I think I fucked it up.
Okay. But anyway, sexted them to you. But anyway, here's the deal. As I said during the Washington protest that got out of hand, 513, and you can go back through my Facebook feed, I said, peaceful protests are all great, but as soon as you start breaking the law, I'm not with you. So obey the law. Did you say the same thing, 513, when they were burning down Minneapolis? And most of those businesses that were hurt there were actually owned by minorities. 513, did you care? Or did you send money to Kamala to bail those mostly peaceful protesters out of jail after they got arrested? I'd wager you probably just went on PayPal and sent your $25 or whatever you could afford at the time to Minneapolis and Kamala and her defense fund. Get out of here. Give me a break.
The fact that when you sent me this Twitter that I posted up there earlier with fucking Waltz's daughter,
Hope Waltz's daughter,
like given like
yeah,
here's where they're gonna be.
Yeah. So we have this governor's family, and you ask, well, how did she get this information? Well, her daddy's governor. I wonder how she got the information.
Right.
Maybe at a daddy's briefcase, or listening to daddy's phone calls, or maybe sitting in on meetings. I mean, this guy's a radical, very radical, leftist, liberal Democrat.
Oh,
and that's great.
Will Cray's in the chats now.
Hey,
Will Cray, we've been waiting for you.
He lives there, right?
Yeah, he's in Minnesota.
Look, Minnesota is.
I need you to tell me how you feel. How you feel about your
governor?
Your governor and
look, I've been to Minnesota. I've been to Minneapolis. Doesn't mean I know the whole state by any stretch of the imagination. I was there in January. Lovely time of the year to go to Minnesota. It was so cold.
Yeah, fucking terrible.
I like when they leave the cars running. We don't do that in the Midwest here in Ohio, unless you want to get it stolen. So they leave the cars running because it's just frigid. But we don't even do that in northern Michigan. But whatever. The funny thing is that there's some really nice pockets, and there's some incredible amount of wealth there. I mean, just wealthy people. I was in Wayzata, if you know where Wayzata is, to your buddy there. He probably knows where that is, a suburb of Minneapolis on any number of the lakes out there. And it was pretty, but it is a small population state. They have in Minneapolis, St. Paul, they have approximately 250,000 Somalis there, all concentrated together, which is how she gets elected to office. What's her face? And at the end of the day, it is a left of center state. I don't think from a political perspective, because that's what we're talking about here. I don't see what picking this governor of a very liberal state or a very liberal governor from a blue state does for her side of the ticket. Would have been better served had she picked either Shapiro from Pennsylvania, but she couldn't because, like we talked about, the pickle she would be in for her base of radical anti-Semites, or if she picked Kelly from Arizona, who has his own problems as a candidate as well.
Well,
but
he was going to roll on the fact that my wife is dead, and that's what he was going to fucking roll on.
Well, it would have at least they could have had a leg to stand on when they would say we're trying to moderate the ticket.
I agree.
And they did not moderate the ticket. They just went full bore leftist. And let me tell you, so okay, that's the way I see it. And we have a very, very clear choice coming up in November, this election. You have the most left-wing leftist ticket ever to run for president and vice president of the United States. And if that's the direction the most of the voters in this country want to go to, is a quasi, leftist socialist. He what was his quote? He said, "Not all socialism. We don't call it." I got to pull it up. I should have this ready to go. But he made a quote. He's a proud and unabashed liberal, this guy. And he said, to the effect that socialism, one man's socialism is another man's neighborliness. Oh, really? Oh, really? That's a quote from this guy. And it wasn't a long time ago. It was like a week ago. So he didn't like being called a socialist. He's like, well, one man's socialist is another guy's, neighborliness. Well, you know what? If my neighbor comes up and sticks his hand in my pocket, we're going to have a problem.
Right.
So I don't know what the Democrats are doing. I don't think the Democrats, I think your average blue dog Democrat is probably disgusted by the direction that their party has taken. There can be no doubt that they've shifted very far to the left, and this is how they think they're going to win the election. We'll see what happens. I still want to watch their convention.
So I posted Will Gray's comment, and he said, but the good thing is this put the spotlight on all the crazies in this state. It used to be awesome, but is now deteriorating for the last 10 years.
Well, ask him, as I said, violent crime especially has skyrocketed in Minnesota. Their GDP level has dropped for the first time ever. Their net worth, their education is going in the toilet, and they've increased spending unabashedly on education because this guy wants to give free education to everybody. I mean, this guy is just a very left-wing guy, and I'm just going to call it like it is. When the news says he's they think he can talk in Midwest terms, come to Ohio and say that shit. It ain't going to work. I mean, it ain't going to work.
Right.
I will put JD Vance up any day and twice on Sunday against this guy in any speech, selling his values, his stories, what he's done, and what he sees the vision for the country. And I think if the Republicans, get away from, Joe Biden's now gone, but Kamala Harris was part of this administration. So she owns every bit of the economy and especially the border wall. Do you know this guy made a statement when they were talking about building the wall? He said, if I find out, what did he say? If the wall's 20 feet tall, I'm gonna invest in a company that builds 25-foot tall ladders. Meaning he doesn't like the border.
Right.
He wants no border.
He wants it to be fucking open.
He wants it to be open. And if that's what the majority of people look, folks, know what you're voting for. So when you hear, I don't know how they're going to sell this. I heard Sherrod Brown of all people was bemoaning shrinkflation on one of his commercials. He was like, this shrinkflation is terrible. And I remember when this was 10 ounces and now it's only 8, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you supported every policy that has brought us this.
Which you and I talked about, the fact that Sherrod Brown has completely supported Biden.
He's never not supported Biden.
Check mark.
Yeah.
Check mark.
Look, I just, it's offensive to me as a voter. It's offensive to me. Speaking of offensive, we got to get into that portion of the program. But, it's offensive when they present themselves as something not. I have no problem running as a conservative. I'm a conservative. I have no problem supporting conservatives. And and expressing what I believe in. But what I do have a problem is when someone says, I'm from the Midwest and I'm just, I'm just like you and I'm a normal person. Well, no. And let me say this. Mr. Walsh also declared his state, guess what? It was a sanctuary state for gender affirming surgery. And in Minnesota, which I don't think, look, I don't do social issues very much as far as abortion. It's usually one of the things I just kind of like. I'm like, you know what, whatever. I have my views and I'm pro-life, but shock. But here's the deal. Did you know that in Minnesota, there's no limits on abortion? You can be the day, it can be right before you're due, and they will go in and abort the baby. I believe, other than the radical Democrats, and maybe 513 being one of them, I believe that the majority of Americans in this country do not think that that's proper. I just don't think, as what I would say, I don't think the majority of Americans think that abortion should be illegal. I mean, just polls show that.
Right.
I don't think the majority of Americans, I think at some point, most Americans feel like, you know what? That's a baby. If it can survive 2 inches outside the womb and it's inside the womb, it doesn't give you the right to kill it. So whatever, that's my opinion. This guy doesn't have that opinion. He's very, very radical. Minnesota is the most radical left state around. And if that sells in Peoria, well, then we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, we were all thinking Shapiro.
Thinking Shapiro.
That's everything you saw. Through the weekend, waiting for Monday, nothing came out. And then today, Walls gets called out, which I had never heard of this.
I never heard of the guy either. I was like,
I literally had to Google him. I'm like, oh, shit. All right.
How old is he? Because he looks really old.
I
heard he was like 60, but I was like, there's no way that dude is 60. He looks like he's, 80. Maybe it's it's those Minnesota winters.
Oh, let's see.
Of course, it's going to be way down in the search engine.
Of course it will be.
So let me go through some highlights. So in Minnesota, convicted felons now have the right to vote before they're before completing parole or probation. So
60. He's 60.
He's 60 years old.
60, but he looks like
Pull
he's
up
80.
this picture. There's no way that guy's 2 years older than me. That's just not possible. I mean, unless I just have really good genes and he lost in the gene pool. I'm not sure. There's no way that guy is 2 years older. Look at that guy. You show him?
It'll take a second for it to pop up there, but yeah, he definitely doesn't look 60.
He looks like he's just aged. Driver's license. Yeah, look at that guy. He's not 60. He looks like 70. Easy. Nothing wrong with 70, but driver's license and state-funded health care are now available for all illegal immigrants. Well, that'll work out well. No wonder your state's probably going down the toilet. Public and charter schools are mandated to teach ethnic studies, and school boards.
Since he's getting rough.
Is he getting rough with me?
People aren't carrying around a pregnancy for 8.9 months, then deciding to have an abortion because they don't want it. You simple-minded fuck.
But it's allowed. Does he not understand the point of my thing? Does he not understand that it's allowed? Cincy 513. I'll talk really slow. It's allowed in his state.
We're going to get him in the studio because he wants to come in the studio.
Let him come in. I can't.
I think it would be fucking fantastic.
Give a crap. This guy, what has Cincy 513 done? Nothing. 513.
513.
He's just pounding on the keyboard right now. Mom, make me a pot pie.
It's funny because we've had conversations, and outside of the podcast, and we definitely disagree on things. And he was like, "Bring me in." I was like, "You know what? I brought Pappas in. I'm gonna bring you in." So it's gonna happen.
Wait, but he said, without knowing me, he said, "Right, I hate that guy." Didn't you tell me he said he hates me?
Yeah, he strongly dislikes you.
Well, I mean, is that hate? Or
I don't know if it's hate or not.
Okay. Well,
I don't want to put words in his mouth.
I don't know the guy because obviously he hasn't done anything that has caught my attention or been noteworthy in my life. So there you go, 513. Pound on that keyboard.
We're gonna make it happen because the chats are. You guys are live, and I love it.
Well,
you guys are hitting it.
That's fine. I mean, look, hey, I can't read that.
Which part?
I don't know.
Which one?
I don't know. It's all right. It doesn't bother.
I don't know.
I don't care about this guy.
So we were talking. We were shocked. We were shocked in the fact that it would be Walz.
Yeah,
which
I'm glad. We were shocked and glad.
Yeah,
because this makes a very clear dichotomy of where the decision is going to be in November.
And when the sitting president currently, who we have no idea where he is because he's shoved in a back closet, comes out on Twitter and says she made a great decision.
Yeah. I'll bet you.
Do I want to take your? Oh yeah, that's awesome.
But,
Thanks.
Well, let me ask you.
Appreciate that.
Do you think he actually typed it? Because there's been proven that he didn't type it.
I guarantee
it's one of his aides typed it, and that's fine. That's their job to, hey, go type something for the president. What I'm concerned about, and we've discussed this, I've had some chats with it. I'm concerned that how many days? What's a day count? Now she had a rally, right? You think she could have a news conference, right? Those aren't hard to do.
She was in PA today.
She was in Pennsylvania today. She could have had a news conference. Maybe her and what's his name?
Mr.
Again?
Walz.
Mr. Walz.
I keep wanting to call him Waltz.
No, it's pronounced Walls, like balls. So that's how you have to remember. It's Walls, balls.
Right.
But the Mr. Walz, they could have had a press conference, but I'm actually starting to get really annoyed. Not that I wasn't before. I think people should be just open their eyes. The lack of media attention to Kamala being asked to answer any questions whatsoever. I mean, she has just done something historic, meaning she has stripped a duly selected and elected primary candidate from the election process, cast him aside, and assumed his position. That's never happened before. And there's been no press conference about it. She hasn't faced one question. She's made statements, albeit sometimes not coherent statements, but not called to answer for anything, not called before the press, and the press just doesn't care. I don't think that bodes well. I think they're going to take a page from the last election when they had Biden stuck in the basement and he never came out, and they're going to try to hide her as much as they can. Now, maybe Walz is going to try to carry the water and take the arrows, but I don't think the Democrats are voting for Walz. Most Democrats, I would say, didn't know who the guy was.
Exactly.
Harris is the top of the ticket. She's the one that should be answering questions. She's the one that should be facing the fire, and she's the one that's going to be elected. I would still say most people, even on both sides of the aisle, are voting for the president first, and whoever the vice president is either a plus or kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know anyone that's like voting for the vice president first and just taking the president along with it.
Well, I've got this video pulled up, which I find amusing because we get, conservative, Republican, wherever you're at. If you're a Trump supporter, you're a nut job.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah,
you're an idiot.
No, you're MAGA. Remember
MAGA.
Yeah. And did you remember that? I wonder if she's going to continue this mantra that during the president's term, you know what the biggest threat to this country was that I didn't know? White supremacy. Remember, he would always say white supremacy, white supremacy. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? White supremacy. I mean, I don't see it, but maybe I'm not as privy to information as he is.
We're in our bubble here.
Oh, our bubble of Ohio.
So we may not have seen it here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's somewhere, but yeah, I agree with you in the
that
fact
of
that
Islamic terrorism now, Mideast unrest now, inflation now. White supremacy. That's the key.
That's what we're hanging our hat on.
Whatever.
So we can go in the past of Donald Trump and everybody just blast all the shit, the Stormy Daniels bullshit.
Yeah.
Touch him in the pussy bullshit.
You didn't just say that, did you?
I totally fucking did.
I can't believe you said that.
We'll see what happens.
Jeez.
But I find it amusing in the fact that nobody really cares about the past of fucking Harris or Biden, the shit that he said. So I'm going to play this. Hopefully this plays right.
We have to stay active. And, we have to stay woke. Like everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
Yeah.
It doesn't even fucking make sense.
I don't know what.
Even if she's trying to fucking put that together of we need to stay woke and everybody needs to be woke. Why? Why do we need to be woke?
I think well, first of all, I think that the American public is rejecting this wokeism, and we've seen that multiple times. But secondly, we've discussed, and we will continue to discuss, that Kamala Harris cannot have a cogent thought. I mean, a rational thought. She just speaks, and wherever her words lead her, she just keeps spewing out more words.
Exactly. She just rolls.
She just starts speaking, and she doesn't know. Literally, I think she's just making all this crap up on the fly, which is why it's important to note, say, well, how did this person become where she is? Okay. And the simple fact of the matter is it was a nepotism case between her and her former lover, Willie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a fact. And
I had a great meme that I was going to put up, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to throw it up.
Well,
but it was her coming out from underneath the desk.
Oh God.
And said, I've swallowed so many children that everything comes on my face is childish.
Jesus Christ.
But I didn't do it, Andrew.
Well, but you just did kind of do it.
I just said it.
Well,
I didn't show the picture.
Well, I only imagine but here's the deal. Look, they'll bring up everything about Trump's past and they'll take, for example, the JD Vance comment completely out of context. Okay. Just completely out of context. And people don't understand what he was saying about that. And he explained it fairly well. And he wasn't,
thank you, Mike.
He wasn't bemoaning the fact that
he said it's not who you know, it's who you blow.
It's who.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Look, I just wish the country, I wish voters would just put as much effort into doing just a little bit of their own research. Don't listen to what anyone tells you, especially the news, the nightly news, which is skewed to the left. Do a little bit of research, and make an informed decision, because is there anything worse than making an uninformed decision?
Well, you get really, really horrible results.
Right. So, I mean, if you think the last 4 years have been great, it's going to come down to this. If you think the last 4 years have been, stellar and spectacular, you've got a clear choice. You can continue on the current course. I mean, true, we may have war in the Middle East at any moment. I mean, don't even mention the Afghanistan withdrawal that we don't talk about anymore. They act like that never happened.
Right.
That was, Kamala Harris was vice president during that. I didn't hear her say one word about it. But it was her president, her right-hand man that did that.
And a friend of our podcast, Stu Scheller, lost
was the only one that was held accountable.
Lost
the
a
only
bunch of shit because he voiced out about it.
Because he spoke up, because he's a good man. He saw something that was wrong, and he stood up for himself, and he paid the price for it in a lot of ways. And I respect him all the more for the fact that, it's doing the right thing no matter what the consequences are that really define your character. And Stu Scheller has that in spades as far as I'm concerned. But we have a clear choice. And I am actually, like I said, to start off the program, I'm ecstatic with this choice. I think it shows how beholden to the left, how the left wing, the radical leftists within the Democrat Party have firm control on their party. And I think that there is you could just dig a hole and put your blue dog Democrat and your working man Democrat in that hole, because there's nothing about this party that is in any way, shape, or form mainstream, and definitely not. Is it Midwest? I'll have to ask this question. Is it Midwest values that if there's a riot going on, are most of your Midwest daughters going to go on Twitter and say, hey guys, the police are showing up here, you might want to not be there? Is that Midwest values there, Timmy boy? Doesn't sound like it to me.
It definitely
doesn't sound like American values to me. But, if you want to placate the radical leftists in your state because you got 200,000 Muslim immigrants living in the Twin Cities area that are burning down your city, or whoever was burning down that city, you have to placate to that. And that's what this guy's done, because that's where the population center is in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
I love the fact that since he's getting all bullshit, and he was like, maybe you'll sway your 9 listeners.
How many do you have? Hey, 513. How many do you have?
I love the fact that you went there, and guess what? That will now
get him. Why would you want him on your show?
That will now change some things.
Yeah, you're not.
If you're gonna be a
hey,
dick,
513. Guess what? You ain't coming on the show. So just keep pounding on the keyboard and wipe the Cheetos off the keyboard and keep pounding away, buddy.
we've had multiple conversations, and you don't know exactly how many listeners we actually have. You just know what you're seeing right now, currently. So, just because you don't agree,
sounds like he's opening his mouth, writing checks his body probably can't cash.
but I love the Discord in this, like, in the chats. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't fucking agree with him.
Be the respectful of this program, buddy.
But yeah, when you say some shit like that, that changes some things.
Got the producer right here.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, can we get down to the local level too? Speaking of offensive things, can we bring it down to a local level?
Yeah, we're drawing down on time anyway, so let's do that.
So I don't know if you saw, I think you did.
Because now my fucking blood pressure's up and
you're ready to go.
I'm gonna be making a fucking phone call.
To whom? Him?
Multiple people.
Anyway, here's the deal. I don't know if you saw. Did you see our local school board member, what he posted on X, Twitter, formerly X, Twitter X, whatever? So this is our local school board. Or do you want to talk about that? Because you wanted to go on that.
Well, I do want to hit this real quick.
Why don't you hit that real
Let's
quick,
hit this
and we'll
real
get back
quick.
to this. So this is in regards to Donald Trump mentioning that Kamala and what he was referring to, how sometimes depending on the crowd that she's at, she can be either Jamaican or black
Or Indian.
or Indian. That's right. Whatever the situation dictates. And he wasn't, I mean, do you remember when Hillary Clinton went to a church in the South and suddenly got a black church in the South and suddenly became her dialect was like she was raised in the South?
Fucking changed it.
Yeah. So these chameleons are annoying to people. See, here's the deal. Could you imagine Donald Trump trying to talk Southern? That would be hilarious. I mean, we should probably try to find that.
I would actually pay money to see
it. It doesn't exist. He is who he is, right? So it's annoying, these chameleons that go up. So that's what he was referring to. Like, she wasn't even really black until a couple of weeks ago. And that's what he was referring to. The fact that now she's, and do I even dare bring up her family's history with slavery in Jamaica? Because, if that was any other candidate, we'd be all over it. But we're not going to mention that. We'll just let that go. Why don't you cue up this young girl from the Trump rally?
They don't want to talk policy. They just want to use propaganda to steal your vote. The left is trying to tout this woman as a savior for the black community, but all she's done is hurt the black community since she came into the game. See, the first step in destroying the black community is to dismantle the black family. So aside from her record as a prosecutor, why don't we ask Mrs. Willie Brown if Kamala Harris cares about black families?
If I've ever seen a fucking mic drop, that is it.
Just boom.
I just and what I love the fact that, like,
she puts her hands up.
So the extra piece at the end was fucking awesome.
Just great. That's a great clip.
But the fact that, like, that's only a small snippet of that interview, and that speech, and I watched almost all of it. I think I missed the first minute, and then it's a small snippet, and the fact that he has people in the black community supporting him, where they're questioning, the other candidate, and where she wants to fucking play her games, where, we need to be woke, and she does the exact same thing. I've seen a couple TikTok videos where she was doing like a cooking show with somebody.
Oh, it was
in her house.
Actually, it was you talking about Kamala?
Yeah,
she was doing a cooking show with the girl from The Office.
Yes. Yeah. And
who's of Indian descent,
and completely changes her fucking dialect.
Oh yeah,
again.
Because the girl, I can't remember the actress's name. I like her, and she said, you're Indian. She goes, oh yeah, I'm 100%.
But when you listen to it, like her dialect completely changes.
Oh, I'm not.
But I love the fact that this woman was brave enough to stand up in front of a Trump rally, thousands of people, and say,
tens of thousands,
and say, look, what she's saying is fucked up, and don't buy what she's selling.
Well, the public is going to have, like I said, they're going to be trying to sell a lot of bullshit to people, and sadly, it turns off good people from politics. What we're about to go through is going to turn off a lot of people, because you're going to hear so many lies and misinformation and distortions, and just flat out thinking that marketing wins. Hopefully the public can see through it. They have a lot of money. I love the fact they said they raised like $100 million in 10 minutes. Well, what they failed to mention is like $80 million. That was the money that was frozen that the donors said we're not giving to Biden. Right. So as soon as Biden stepped out, they're like, okay, we'll give the money. So, they boom, 80 million of it showed up immediately because that money was frozen. So it's just these little nefarious and dishonest things that the Democrat Party and the media do.
It's the way they speak it. It's the way they speak it out. Put it out on social media, put it out on X, Facebook, wherever. It's not necessarily true.
No,
in the way that they're portraying it.
Well, it's offensive. And so getting back to offensive here locally, we had a school board member, Mr. Jason Simmons, who on X retweeted a photograph depicting Donald Trump as Jesus Christ on the cross.
I'll show the photograph first.
Pull that up.
MAGA, the Olympics, are insulting to Christians.
Yeah,
also MAGA.
And this is the photograph that your sitting school board member decided to repost and thought it was either funny or cute, or I don't know what he thought. I'm actually offended as a Christian. I think it's offensive. This was a parody. This was done, from what I understand, the artist did this as a complete and utter parody. He didn't actually believe it. He just was trying to make a joke about whatever. This was not done by a MAGA supporter by any way, shape, or form. And Mr. Simmons retweeted this. So I draw attention to Mr. Simmons' radicalness and what he's putting out on social media as a sitting school board member. I don't think he ran on this platform of being such a radical leftist, but he is. And he has a lot of strange ideas regarding boys and girls bathrooms, regarding boys and women's sports, regarding a lot of things. He seems preoccupied with sex talk, that he likes to talk about the sex of the kids in the schools, and very worried about sexual education in school. That seems to be his cause celeb, which I don't remember him running on that. So I found it humorous that one day after he posted this, and then I brought it to the public's attention. Oh, I see that, is one of his bigger supporters, Sue Hoff Wood, who took some really strange. She stalked me in Michigan and took a real weird picture of me in Michigan. Remember that one?
That's the one.
Yeah, that's her. She has a little shack up in the woods up in Michigan, but now she thinks that, she can. I didn't even recognize her because I don't want to be mean, but I just did. Well, that I didn't recognize her, or that I want to be mean.
They're like, no, like why would you? If
Well, I mean, she obviously recognized me in a restaurant and then put on her little Facebook page a picture of her laughing as I'm in the background of her taking a shot of her mug, which I'm surprised she got that head in a picture so close to.
It was actually creepy when I remember when that happened.
And she thought it was funny, but anyway,
it's fucking creepy.
It's very creepy, but whatever. That's who they are. So anyway, Sue Hoff Wood is defending him on some politics page locally here, but I don't really get on that page. But anyway, so the next day, or I think today or yesterday, Mr. Simmons decided to take his X page private. So he clamped it down. So, I don't know what he's going to be seeing. But what I find ironical, you want to talk about hypocrisy, Sue? I'll tell you what's hypocritical. What's hypocritical is the fact that when I was a trustee and I would post things on my personal Facebook page that you guys were not friends with me, but would go troll all the time. Then you come marching up en masse to the township and you decry the fact that the township doesn't possess a social media policy for elected officials. Yet I don't hear you saying one damn word about the fact that a sitting school board member doesn't think it's bad to alienate and offend Christians in his community here, which is probably I wouldn't put a percentage on it, but I would say we're pretty highly percentage Christian in Ann Township.
Well,
and
where you're sitting now,
Yeah.
the moniker, this neighborhood,
yeah.
is called the Catholic Ghetto.
Well, here's the
I'm
deal.
not Catholic, but that's just what it's called.
If you I would imagine that Anderson Township is probably of all of the people that profess a faith. Okay, I would say that it's probably overwhelmingly. I would guesstimate. Would you say it's in the high 80s, maybe 90%?
Yeah, I think
some
that's easy.
denomination of Christianity. I would think that most of the kids going to Forest Hill schools probably identify themselves in some way, shape, or form as some denomination of Christian. But we have a sitting school board member thinks that it's okay to mock and belittle their faith by posting depictions of Donald Trump as Jesus Christ. And I don't think it's funny. And I think he should issue a public apology.
Completely
and I
agree.
think that if you're gonna go marching over to the township with your group of gals back in the day, led by Ann Zimmerman, to bemoan my social media presence, you should do the same to Jason Simmons sitting on the school board educating your little children.
Yeah, no, I completely
I get
agree.
hot about that because I remember it like it was yesterday.
When you sent me that, and it's just so funny, like, the little township that we are, i.e., somewhat a big township.
45,000 people is a big township
around our area.
Yeah.
But, it's all the bullshit that actually comes with being an elected official, whether you're on school board, whether you're on a trustee board, all the shit that comes out. And I always made the joke. I was like, I'm going to run for village trustee at some point.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it's a lot of fun.
And I'm like, yeah, I have a lot of skeletons in the closet that I don't need necessarily to be brought out. But the fact that, like, the shit that you guys have to deal with, and then you have.
Oh, did I mention we didn't talk about that either? Oh, so now trending on. But go. I'm sorry.
No, finish. No, you finish.
No, you finish. No, you finish. So what's trending on social media is the hashtag Tampon Tim, because that's one of his proudest accomplishments was Mr. Walls. Sounds like balls. He signed, groundbreaking legislation that tampons should be in boys' restrooms too, because it was dictated that everyone that was menstruating in Minnesota needed access to feminine hygiene products. So he thought it was a good idea to put tampons in the boys' bathrooms. He was very proud of that. So that's trending on social media. But anyway, getting back to the running for public office, no matter what is. Listen, I get it. It comes with the gig. I understand that. But I will say this. The hate emails that we got from leftists, from the left, from the East Side Democrats, from Allie has sent many. Allie that's Abby, I'm sorry. Abby that's no longer Poolis Abby. She's sent a lot to school board, at least one school board friend of mine, that were just above and beyond. And Capel would do the same thing with all her emails and just vile things that they would say in email. And the problem is that what it does is, it keeps people that you would want to be in office saying, I don't need this. I mean, especially, trustee doesn't pay. Trustee pays about, I don't know what it's up to now. I think it's like $22,000 a year, which is, a nice bit of change, but you do put a lot of work in.
You put a lot of time.
A lot of time and work in, and, you're involved with everything. School board is much less than that. And I think school board's to be totally fair, I think school board's a tougher gig. Now, people say, the funny thing of all is I laugh at people are like, well, that's a non-political, it's a nonpartisan post. And that's true. And it was in a large point until Leslie Rasmussen ran and the Democrats endorsed her and then got behind her and got her elected. And then all of a sudden it became a partisan post. After that, it became partisan. Parties had to endorse and support, or else what would happen is the other side would get their person put into office. So that's just the fact of the matter. That's just the way it is. How do we undo that? That's a great question. I would like to see it filled with, maybe people that don't have higher political aspirations, or that people that are totally and completely nonpartisan running for those offices to serve and just try to make the school district better.
Well,
Trustee, I don't know. Trustee seems to be has been at least a history of becoming a stepping stone, getting involved in politics. And I think making the argument that trustee is apolitical is a bit more of a stretch. But
do you not think, and I know a lot of our listeners don't give a shit about what's happening in Anderson Township.
Right.
But
sometimes I don't.
We're not a syndicated podcast that's going, we're going out all over, but we have a ton in Cincinnati.
Right.
And we appreciate everybody that doesn't live in Cincinnati, Anderson Township, hearing this. But it does make sense to talk about it, because I want to ask your opinion. A lot of people get into politics. They start on a school board.
Yeah.
Then they may potentially go to trustee
or city council. Yeah.
Or city council, wherever your seat is.
Right.
And the reason that I like to bring some of this up, and I know some people don't like the fact that we do, but I like to keep it local in the fact that people need to know how this shit works. And there's so many adults that don't know how the voting process works. You start at school board, then you go to trustee, and then if you want to go to a state rep.
Yeah, but
you have to put your work in.
I really would like to see it where, school board honestly wasn't a stepping stone, and it hasn't been. I mean, for a large part, it has not been. But for example, our state rep ran for school board. Okay. Didn't win. And then her signs were still the same, had some name ID for running for that, and then parlayed it into a state rep position. It is a political in the sense that,
it's a political environment.
It's well, you're on a ballot, so that makes it political in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So you run, you have yard signs, you do run for that. I would like to see where maybe school board was somehow isolated from that a little bit, but I'd like to see a lot of things that aren't going to happen, and I just don't see putting that genie back in the bottle. So, and what's more important than let me say this. I'd like to remind people: look at your tax bill. I mean, school boards are the most important thing hitting your tax bill. I mean, overwhelmingly, the largest portion of taxes, at least here in Ohio, that you pay go to the local schools. Not to crow about how little or how fiscally responsible the township is, but I'll just say it because I'm proud of that. We take a very small bite from that apple, and the schools take a larger bite, a pretty big bite. So that being the case, it's going to probably always remain political. You see stuff like this. I don't think it's smart for a sitting school board member to, obviously because he's radical, and he is radical. I don't think it's smart for him to literally insult and offend Christians in his neighborhood. I mean, I don't think that's a good move. And
right.
As a voter and as a taxpayer, I have every right to call him out on it.
Absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to sit there and say that there should be a social media policy for the school board, because I wasn't calling for one for the trustees, but I think those fine ladies that came to our meeting and just absolutely went apoplectic at one of our meetings years ago. I'm speaking of one person in particular that foam was flying. I'd love to see the same amount of concern spent on the school board when one of their darlings, one of their children, one of their favorite children, posts something so offensive. And if Mr. Simmons had real guts, I'd like to see Mr. Simmons do that about any other religion and see the guff he catches.
Right.
I get tired as a Christian. Maybe a lot of people do as well. It seems like Christians it's the vogue thing to make fun of. Let's make fun of the Christians. They won't do anything. That's kind of, it's the same thing as the Olympics. Same deal as the Olympics, as we talked about that show. The opening, is that still going on, by the way? The Olympics?
Yeah, it's still happening.
Is it?
I'm not paying attention to it.
So I've missed most of. Oh, wait, that's not true. I've missed all of it.
I have zero. I've had zero desire.
Look, I like I talked about. I will cheer for the athletes independently. Glad that the effort that they put in is paying off, especially when they medal. glad they're having this experience, except for the poor people that have to swim in that cesspool of a river Seine in Paris that are discussing. There was one lady that said, I don't even want to tell you what I touched when I was in that river, because there's part of the triathletes are swimming through that river. That'd be like, that's worse than the Ohio by a long shot. by a long shot. So anyhow, I will look at the results. I see the United States is doing very well, and it's nice to see. And you discussed your newfound bromance with the French pole vaulter the last show. I think I thought I saw his poster in the room when I walked in.
Dude, he got offered $250,000 just to see it. Oh just God. To see it.
Why would you know that? I'm just kidding.
Because I listen to other podcasts and I fucking do research.
$250,000 to
just pull it out.
No,
pull it out.
That's not enough money.
Fuck yeah.
No, he could hold out for a lot more than that.
I mean, he could get
was
more.
Was it euros or was it dollars?
It was dollars.
I would hold out for more.
And he could get more. But guess what? You do it once, somebody else is going to ask you to do it twice.
Look, in this country, okay, so we have now this guy's going to parlay this into some sort of career, because we now have, at least in the United States, we have the Hawktaw girl that is making a living just being a girl that was on some random
video
podcast,
Instagram.
Podcast Instagram thing that said Hawktaw, and now she's famous. I mean, so this guy, who's obviously a lot more talented than that, he's definitely going to have
the size of that thing.
I'm not going to discuss this. This
Jesus
is not
Christ. It's like a baby's arm holding an apple, Andrew.
You have a very odd.
I'm a fucking fireman. That's just the way it is.
What?
I'm intrigued. I'm like, God damn it. My father fucked me over in the gene pool.
A lot. I mean, is he Greek? He kind of looks like he's Greek.
Well, he's French. He's fucking French.
I think he's just living in France. I think he's a Greek immigrant. I think he is. But anyhow, I will say this. I don't want to talk about it much more. So if you bring it up again, I might smash you upside the head. Just so wrong. I'm trying to think what I always think when we're doing these shows, and I really do. I think what would Rob be doing right now, or what would Dan
exactly as we were talking now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just like
exactly what would be happening.
I'm puzzled, but whatever.
Andrew and I have to get our schedules together before he leaves tonight. We will have our schedules together for hopefully the rest of August, and we will be back probably.
So today is Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. We're doing this on the fly right now.
You want to do Sunday again?
Yeah.
Let's do Sunday. We'll be back on Sunday. And we'll do Sunday. We'll do Sunday. I've got I have to do a little plug. I have an Honor Flight picnic on Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome.
For the ambassadors to Honor Flight, which I support.
Yes.
And so I have to hit that. So if we could do a 7:00 on Sunday, is that too late for you?
7:00 perfect.
So you guys and ladies can you cool cats can you can schedule that. We'll be here Sunday at 7. And then that next week we'll have to play it by ear. I might have to do a remote in, or you might have to have a remote guest.
We will figure it out. But hey, guys, thank you so much. I absolutely love the chatter in the chats, and going back and forth, having good discourse with each other. Even though I got a little bit fired up for a second, but
is that gone now?
It might come back, but. I know it's probably going to come back, but that's all good. But no, we appreciate everybody subscribing, downloading. Make sure you hit the like button and download the audio podcast. It helps us out a ton. And we will see you Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Out.